Friends, today's movie story is going to be intense and unforgettable. The tale revolves around Rue, a young woman battling addiction, trauma, and complex relationships, along with her friends Jules, Maddie, Kat, and Nate, all navigating the turbulent waters of high school, parties, and growing pain. From Rue's turbulent upbringing and brushes with heavy substances to Jules' struggles with identity and secrecy, and love, the story dives deep into the raw, messy side of adolescence. Friends clash, secrets spill, romances spark and falter, and moments of vulnerability meet moments of recklessness. The characters wrestle with trust, consent, loyalty, and the temptations of temporary highs. Parents, peers, and authority figures hover in the background, sometimes guiding, sometimes complicating lives. Through parties, therapy sessions, online escapades, and emotional breakdowns, the story keeps twisting, revealing how fragile yet resilient these teens can be. Amid chaos, friendships are tested, bonds deepen, and some hearts find courage to confront pain, others, and it's a whirlwind of raw emotions, difficult choices, and moments that grip you by the heart. Every character's journey is layered with conflict, growth, and heartbreak, making it impossible to look away. So friends, let's dive into this roller coaster and see where it all leads. Rue was born just days after 9/11, a rough time for her family, who were stuck in the hospital longer than expected. As a kid, she'd lose it over the tiniest things, and experts thought she might have OCD, ADD, anxiety, or maybe bipolar disorder. Still, Rue swears her childhood wasn't bad enough to justify all that. Her mom tries to lift her up, saying she's gifted and not alone, but Rue's not buying it. Sometimes her brain lags, and anxiety hits so hard she passes out if she focuses on her breathing too much. Now, Rue's all about hard meds, heavy drinking, and partying. One day it's like she exhales everything, and her body just locks up. It freaks her out, but those few seconds of nothingness make her start chasing that feeling. After rehab, Rue goes back home, but slides right back to the streets. She never planned to quit getting high. She hits up Fezco and Ashtray, who give her a different kind of med, something better. She steps outside and bumps into Nate, a guy she can't stand, who once tried to get handsy with her on a dance floor. Nate and McKay, both football players, talk about McKay's party. McKay's stressed about hosting at his place, worried his mom will flip if anything, even a scratch, messes up the house. Driving by, Nate makes fun of Jules, cornering her till she can't ride again, causing her to crash. The other guy with Nate thinks the joke went too far. Jules spends most of her time on a dating app, even skipping the party to chill alone. Maddie and her friends get ready for the party, but she's down, feeling like Nate's always making her feel small. Her friends hype her up, telling her to hook up with some guy and move on. At home, Rue's mom goes off, demanding to know where she's been. Rue claps back and slams the door. Her mom's not letting it go, insisting on a test.
You know what, Rue? I don't trust you. Please talk to me like that. You know what? I'm gonna drug test you.
Rue knows ways to cheat it, and the easiest is clean piss from someone else. She runs to Lexi's house to ask for a favor, and Lexi's cool with it. Rue comes back with a sample, straps it to her thighs, and snorts some powder for a boost before facing her mom. While her mom looks away in the bathroom for the test, Rue admits she's been a lousy example for her little sister Gia. Once Gia found Rue passed out on her floor and cried her eyes out. Rue hands over the test, says sorry for earlier, and they hug it out. The test comes back clean. Jules shoots up a substance in her butt, then gets dressed to head out. At McKay's party, the guys trash talk Cassie, Lexi's sister, calling her a loose girl over leaked in a sex tape. McKay sticks up for her, saying he's into her and it's probably not even her in the clips. At the party, McKay and Cassie make out in his room. He gets too rough. She stops him, warning him never to do that again without her consent. Jules meets up with Dominant Daddy from the dating app, an older guy who's chill, setting the vibe with a few words and sticking his thumb in Jules's mouth. He puts on a condom and goes hard from behind. At the party, Rue snorts something and gets high fast, stumbling around. Maddie finds a guy to mess with Nate, and they start kissing in the pool. Nate watches, forgetting the girl he was with. On her way to the party, Jules texts Kat, who doesn't answer. Kat's hanging with some guys, trying to seem tough even though she's a virgin and hasn't done anything wild. They dare her to take her top off, and she does, hesitantly. One of the twins calls her fat and says she's only good for giving head. Fezco, Rue's dealer, tells her to chill on the meds, warning her about what happened months ago and how it could hurt her if it happens again. Rue thinks back to a time in treatment when she zoned out and loved that empty feeling. It's why she keeps following this path, chasing that void. Nate sees Maddie with Tyler in the pool, and it messes with his head. He storms into the kitchen, yelling at everyone to get out. Jules doesn't budge, so Nate screams at her, asking who she is and who her friends are. No one answers, and Nate threatens her. Jules grabs a knife and points it at Nate, who backs off, saying he was joking. Jules cuts to prove she doesn't care, then walks off. Kat leaves the room and tells a friend she just lost her virginity. Jules is heading out, but Rue stops her and they hit it off, with Jules giving her a ride home. McKay and Cassie crash together, chill after their time together. Nate goes home, where a framed picture on his wall shows Cal, aka Dominant Daddy. Rue and Jules sneak inside. Rue patches up Jules's arm, and as they lie in bed, with Jules's showing through her underwear, Rue suggests they get high. When Nate was really young, he stumbled across his dad's stash. He sneaks into his dad's office and watches the homemade videos, seeing his dad hook up with people in his usual way. One night in his room, when his dad comes in, Nate hides, but his dad knows he's awake and talks to him like he's grown, telling him to toughen up and not let people get under his skin. In his early teens, Nate starts a strict diet and hits the gym hard, shaping him into the guy he is now. Nate joins the high school football team as a freshman, but the locker room's rough for him, with bare guys running around, their junk swinging. His family's always been around, but his dad, Cal, doesn't really vibe with Aaron, Nate's older brother, and Nate's confused about why his dad's got beef with his first son. Nate's not a fan of his mom either, thinking she's spineless and easy to push around. Nate's got his preferences, like digging girls who act more like dudes, among other stuff. Meeting Maddie was a big deal for him. He's all about keeping her safe, always thinking of ways to protect her. Her being a virgin when they met made him fall harder, and it amped up their sex life. He's big on staying loyal to her, and wants her to be loyal back. Rue and Jules hit it off as friends, strolling through school holding hands, while everyone, students and teachers, whispers about Rue being back after her overdose and rehab. Maddie hangs with her friends, and when they bring up rumors of pool sex, she sets it straight. No sex, just some grinding. Kat's in class when Ethan walks in, and they start chatting. In a group class, the teacher makes everyone share a summer memory and calls on Rue first. She's a wreck, shaking and stumbling over her words. She talks about dancing out of the hospital ward to meet her sister in the lobby, her mom driving them home, messing around with her little sister, laughing with her mom, chilling with Jules, and snorting meds off a table. She remembers fighting with her mom, who's freaked out about her substance use. It gets bad, with Rue threatening to bolt or hurt her mom if she stopped. She ends up in the hospital, emotional. In front of the class, Rue chokes up, barely able to talk. Some girl says she's probably got brain damage, but Lexi, her childhood bestie, got her back. Rue dips to the bathroom to do meds, but Lexi knocks, and Rue flushes the stash. Pissed, Rue snaps at Lexi to back off, leaving Lexi wondering if Rue's got, like, a split personality or something.
It's like you have a split personality disorder.
While Nate tails some guy from a party the night before, Rue's in group therapy with Allie, a former addict sharing his story. She flashes back to taking care of her sick dad, swiping his pills, and getting high. Rue's missed a bunch of classes, so she sweet talks and threatens a teacher into signing off on her attendance before showing her mom. Kat's at home when a sex video gets sent to her and spreads around school, with people saying it's her. She confronts Roy, telling him to stop spreading it and threatening to call the cops. Before long, Roy and Troy are running around school, convincing everyone it's not Kat. At the principal's office about the video, Kat flips the script, accusing the principal of body-shaming her for being fat. Not wanting trouble, he apologizes and says he'll shut down the rumors. Nate tries to get Maddie's attention, saying sorry, but she's not having it. Kat gets one of the twins to grab her stuff from the mall, and he does it. Jules is chatting online with some dude who goes by Shy Guy. Rue, jonesing for more meds, shows up at Fezco's, who tells her to bounce, but she refuses to leave without a hit. Some sketchy guys roll up, and Fezco gets his guns ready. Mouse shows up, and after some talk, he zeroes in on Rue, who Fezco calls his little sister. Mouse doesn't care and pushes her to try fentanyl, even though Fezco's against it. Mouse feeds it to her, making her pass out in seconds, and Mouse shakes down Fezco for cash while creeping his hands on Rue's thighs. McKay opens up to Cassie, who tries to jump into sex sex, but he shuts it down, just wanting to talk for once. Nate shows up at Tyler's place, grilling him about supposedly messing with a minor at a party. Tyler swears the girl came on to him, but Nate's not buying it, thinking Maddie was too drunk to consent, and beats the crap out of him, leaving him laid out. Fezco calls a friend to look after Rue, who's still out of it from the fentanyl, and the friend takes her to her place. In her room, Kat checks for the leaked video online. It's gone from the original site, but pops up elsewhere. She replies to a comment, asking if she's offering services and signs up on the site. Nate takes Maddie bowling, then pulls her aside to make out and ask about Tyler. She says she was blackout drunk and doesn't remember, but when he pushes, she jokingly says, "Tyler's got a bigger package." Nate drops her off, hands her a gift box with lingerie, and peels out. While McKay and Cassie are talking, with him asking for body pics, Nate keeps up his anonymous chat with Jules, finally saying his name is Tyler. When Kat was a kid, she and her mom took a trip to an island in Jamaica. It was kind of a stressful time, especially after she had a scary run-in with a jellyfish. But she found something to take her mind off it: virgin piña coladas. She got so hooked that she downed 72 glasses by the end of the trip, gaining 20 pounds. Back home, the extra weight really bugged her, so she started wearing baggy clothes to hide it. Surprisingly, Daniel, this kid who always waited to hold her hand while they walked, didn't seem to care and kept doing his thing. That is, until Kendra, another kid, wrote a mean note to her pretending to be Daniel. It broke her heart. Kat didn't bother figuring out if it was really from him. She just threw herself into writing. Over time, she became a badass fiction writer, cranking out stories that actually took off. At school, though, it was rough. Her classmates constantly called her fat, and guys would make weird noises to mock her when she walked through the lobby. They had no idea she was a big deal online, with a cult-like following who loved her work. Sadly, those fans couldn't stop the oppression and body-shaming she dealt with in person. Then a video of her leaked online. Even though her real identity stayed hidden, people who saw it were super into her and wanted more, which gave Kat the confidence to start doing online performances, always keeping her face masked to stay anonymous. After Rue pulls through from a scary fentanyl overdose, she sneaks home, only to get chewed out by her mom. Her mom accuses her of going back to her old substance habits, like a dog returning to its vomit. Rue swears she's clean, but her mom's not buying it and demands a substance test. Rue takes it and passes, but only because she saw it coming and used a clean piss sample from Jules. Later, Jules lays into her, saying she can't keep hanging with someone who seems set on destroying herself. Rue promises to stay clean and pulls it off for a few days. But at her therapy group meeting, she lies, saying she's been sober for 60 days. Deep down, she knows the hardest part of staying clean is doing it for herself, not just for the people she cares about. Nate and Jules keep chatting online, getting closer, and even planning to meet up in person. Rue thinks she might be falling for Jules, but she's not ready to say it out loud. She's more worried about how Jules has been acting weird all week, especially whenever the Tyler guy texts her. Kat's pissed because her new online gig isn't getting the traction she hoped for. Still, she responds to a creepy message from some dude who wants to see her feet, figuring she might as well give it a try. Maddie's starting to pick up on Nate's shady texts, but keeps her cool, not letting him know she's onto him. Meanwhile, Jules is getting bold, sending Nate pictures, and now wanting to send partial with Rue's help. They even get into a goofy argument about whether Nate's got a big or small weenie. Kat's at the mall trying to buy some fruit, but she's low on cash and struggling to pay. Ethan, who's there, steps up and covers it for her. No big deal. Later, while hanging with friends, she gets an anonymous text raving about her foot video. The guy offers $100 for a 30-minute Skype session, $50 more than what she says she usually charges. Wanting to keep her identity under wraps, she meets up with Fezco and Ashtray to learn how to handle Bitcoin payments. Rue's helping Jules take some sultry photos. And while they're at it, she can't help but think how amazing Jules is as a person. Jules throws a little celebration for Rue hitting 2 weeks sober. But when Rue goes to the kitchen for a glass of water, she spots some meds on the counter, and her willpower cracks. She pops a pill and gets out of there fast. At the next therapy group meeting, Rue keeps up her lie about being clean for 60 days, and people give her props. But Ali, another member, knows she's bluffing. He pulls her aside for a friendly but real talk, telling her to get honest, especially for her little sister Gia, who was messed up seeing Rue overdose and might carry that trauma forever. Rue heads home and goes to check on Gia, feeling the weight of Ali's words. Kat finally has her Skype session with the guy, who's chubby like her and totally into her body and confidence. He gives her a heads up about his fetish before they start. He drops his boxers, showing off a tiny weenie, and Kat can't hold back a laugh. He's cool with it though and asks her to make fun of him for it while he strokes. It catches her off guard, but she goes with it, surprised at how natural it feels. When she tells him to stop, he does right away and says he wants her to control him completely, ready to do whatever she says, even paying for little slip-ups like cheating or disobeying. A few days later, Kat finds him for something, and he sends her $100 in Bitcoin real quick. At Nate's place, he and Maddie hook up. While he's in the shower, she snoops through his phone and finds a ton of winner pics. Freaked out, she grabs her stuff and bounces immediately. Cassie and McKay hit up an initiation party together. After some games and chilling, they sneak off to a bathroom, start making out, and tell each other they're in love, caught up in the moment. Rue, bored at home, texts Jules but gets no reply. Restless, she uses the substance again and passes out, missing Jules's messages. Maddie, shaken by what she saw on Nate's phone, confides in Kat, who then buys bold new clothes and shows up at school turning heads, Ethan included. Jules later tells Rue that her online friend Tyler wants to meet, but when Rue panics, Jules storms off. Rue tries calling, then shows up at her place to apologize. They exchange a bunch of "I love yous," and in the heat of the moment, Rue leans in and kisses Jules on the lips. It throws Jules off, and the awkwardness is real. Rue, feeling it, runs out and heads to Fezco's place. He won't open the door, saying he's not going to help her mess herself up anymore. Crying, Rue calls him out, blaming him for starting her addiction with that first pill he sold her. Fezco just apologizes, offering nothing else. With nowhere to go, Rue leaves and calls Allie to set up a meeting, hoping he can help her get herself together. When Jules was much younger, her mom drove her to a place, saying she was going to meet a psychiatrist. After some initial chit-chat, a lady took her on a tour of the facility, where Jules saw kids who needed help. One chubby guy, when he got mad, would flash his junk to everyone. At the end of the tour, Jules found out it was a psychiatric home where she'd have to stay for a while. Freaked out, she cut off with a torn can but quickly told Alan, who rushed over to help her out. Years later, Jules was clean and back with her parents, but her mom couldn't stick it out with her dad and left. That made Jules's already tight bond with her dad even stronger. She started transitioning at a young age, and by 16 she was deep into hooking up with all kinds of people, a lifestyle she kept up. But with Tyler, it was different. She'd already fallen for him. Rue, the one battling addiction, is hanging with Ali. Instead of getting to the point about why she called him, she dances around it. Ali cuts her off, setting her straight. She brings up the thing with Jules, saying she's the only good thing in her life. Ali hits her with a big question. Is what she feels for Jules anything like how she feels about meds? Rue's confused by the comparison, but admits her first time getting high felt like heaven. The town's buzzing for a carnival, and everyone shows up, including Nate. When he spots Maddie, he tells her to go home and change, worried her parents might see her dressed like that. Cal, his dad, notices, and thinks it's because Nate and Maddie broke up. But Nate brushes it off, even though Cal thinks Maddie's a distraction. Jules and Rue run into each other at the carnival and hug for a long time, saying how much they missed each other. Rue brings up the kiss, but Jules doesn't think it's a big deal and shrugs it off, picking their friendship back up like nothing happened. McKay and Cassie stop by Cal's booth, where McKay tells Nate, with Cassie right there, that they're not dating, just chilling.
You guys like in a relationship?
No, we just chilling.
Cal jumps in, giving McKay advice about staying focused, bragging about his own success because he kept his head in the game. Cassie's fed up with the whole scene and walks off. McKay catches up to her and explains he only said that to shield her from whatever crap Nate might talk about, dodging the secret they both know about her. When she presses him to spill, he shuts it down and calls it a night.
Why would you say that?
That's because I know the guy. He's just gonna talk shit.
What have I done, McKay?
We should just call it a night. I gotta get back anyway.
As they're walking, Jules spots Cal's booth and tells Rue that's the older guy she slept with. Rue doesn't buy it. Cal's a big deal in town, having built half of it and done a lot for the community. Jules, determined to prove her point, heads over. When Cal sees her, he gets weird, even dropping the cup of chili he's about to serve her. The whole exchange is awkward, and Nate, who's there, asks who Jules is. Kat's night takes a turn when she sees Ethan talking to some girl. Not knowing what they're saying, she flips out and decides she's done with him. Maddie and Cassie are high on something, and Maddie makes a scene at Cal's booth, pissed that Nate likened her to a hooker and brought up his family's dislike earlier. Meanwhile, Cassie hooks up with another guy for some fun. In the middle of all this, Gia's not answering her phone, and their mom's freaking out, so Jules and Rue start looking for her. While the search for Gia goes on, Maddie finally confronts Nate about what she saw on his phone. He swears it's not what it looks like, says he's been going through some stuff, and begs her not to tell anyone. They hug it out. Cassie's on a carousel with her new guy, but things get weird after a few kisses. She gets so turned on she zones out, moaning without being touched, while a crowd watches. Kat and Luke, a guy who hooked up with literally all his female classmates back in the day, slip off to a corner, and within a minute, he's banging her. Rue finds Gia stoned, hanging with Roy and his crew. She tells her sister to come with her, but Gia resists, backed up by the guys. She only gets up when Roy mocks Rue's overdose, which pisses Rue off. As they walk away, Rue tells Gia to stay away from that kind of stuff. Jules gets a text from Rue saying Gia's been found. Right then, Cal walks up and begs her not to tell anyone about their hookup, saying it could ruin his life. Jules reassures him she's not planning to say anything and promises Rue will keep quiet too. Cal thanks her and leaves. Rue takes Gia home and tells their mom she's just dizzy from riding the Gravitron too many times. Maddie's at home, shaken up by the marks on her neck from when Nate choked her against a wall, trying to stop her from making a scene at his dad's booth. Cassie's spiraling after the mess she made on the carousel, high out of her mind. Nate meets Jules at the spot they agreed on, and she's caught off guard after everything that's happened. He's nice at first, kissing her and sliding his thumb in her mouth, just like Cal did. She stops him, and Nate flips, going off on her. He threatens her, saying he's got evidence she's into pornography and will use it if she does anything stupid. Jules, shocked by the threat, calls his dad a dagger and says they're the same, which sets Nate off. He grabs her by the neck and chokes her hard. Jules heads to Rue's place, climbing in through the window. She tells Rue the date went wrong, that Tyler's nothing like his pictures. Rue hugs her, lets her crash in her bed, and later, they share a kiss. Maddie grew up dreaming of becoming a beauty star, working hard to build her confidence and presence. But everything fell apart when her mom banned her from that path after a beauty pageant boss got arrested for molestation. Instead, Maddie had to tag along to her mom's job, doing pedicures for rich folks. Sitting in that world, she noticed how little rich people seem to work, which lined up perfectly with the kind of life she wanted for herself. She was into Nate long before he asked her out, and when they finally started dating, things went smoothly. Nate would surprise her with random gifts, adore her, and stay loyal. She adored him too, and was mostly loyal, except for a few flings during their breaks. To keep him happy, she even watched adult movies to pick up some moves for him. When Nate asked if she was a virgin, she said yes, even though it wasn't true. She'd hooked up with a much older guy on one of her trips. She knew Nate wanted to feel like he had some kind of claim over her, so she lied to give him that vibe. But one thing worried her. Nate could get way too aggressive, like the time he left her with a red neck from grabbing her too hard. Rue figures nothing comes close to the high of fentanyl except Jules, and as much as she'd love to keep chasing both, Jules is way more important, so she's sticking with her. Her mom already sees how close the two are and thinks Jules is a cool girl, but she hopes Rue takes it slow, calling her delicate. Rue and Jules keep their friendship tight, even getting matching tattoos from Ashtray. Rue knows something big went down the night Jules met Tyler, but she tries not to dig too much. Cal's at a construction site when he gets a distress call and rushes to his son's school, where cops lead him inside. Turns out, Maddie went back to school that morning and passed out from the Molly she took the night before. When paramedics rushed her to the hospital, they spotted bruises on her and reported it to the principal. The principal called Maddie in, and even though she didn't say much, he suspected Nate was involved and started questioning other students. Some said Nate's gay and that's why he and Maddie were fighting. Others called Maddie crazy, and some said they fought because she insulted his mom. But most agreed on one thing. They had a fight, and Nate grabbed her hard and pinned her to a wall. Kat keeps rocking her bold fashion, strutting into malls and turning heads. Unlike before, when she'd worry about being called fat, she now owns her size with pride. On Skype, she tells her cash pig that hooking up with Luke made her realize all guys are pathetic, and he agrees. She's still holding a grudge against Ethan, who's clueless about why she's mad. Maddie won't admit Nate assaulted her, but her mom's set on pressing charges. Cal talks to Nate, who denies assaulting her and says he hasn't admitted to anything. Cal tells him to stay strong and keep his head up. As they walk out, Nate mimes, "I love you" to Maddie, and she does the same, passing by Jules and Rue with a quick glance. Rue brings up Jules's hookup with Cal, but Jules shuts it down, making her swear never to mention it, even if they end up enemies. Rue pushes, saying they could make money off Cal, and Jules storms off, pissed. In a room, someone asks Jules about her body count and one-night stands, and she admits it's a lot. Rue, on the other hand, has only had awkward encounters, with just one weird time involving Maddie holds her ground against the detective on her case, but they sit her down, wipe off the concealer on her neck, and take pictures of the bruises. Nate tells the attorney, with Cal there, that he only grabbed her arm, nothing more, and suggests the molly she took that night messed with her head. He adds that Maddie usually hooks up with other guys when they're fighting, but he's sure he loves her. Nate gets suspended from school and the football team, while the other students have to watch documentaries about domestic violence survivors. Allie tells Rue she's getting too deep with Jules and warns that high school relationships don't last. Jules might bail and leave her hanging. Rue then stands up in group therapy and admits she's been lying about being clean for 60 or 90 days. She says meeting Jules, who she hopes stays her friend, has kept her clean for 13 days, and now she really wants to stick with it.
I've shared out I was lying, whether it be 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. I met someone, and now I want to stay clean.
Jules and her dad are having dinner when he brings up Rue, but she doesn't want to talk about her. Her dad's cool if they're a thing and even suggests inviting Rue over for a family dinner, but Jules just laughs it off. Maddie's spiraling, feeling like everyone's against her, even throwing shade at her parents' marriage. Kat gives the guy from the store a Rue's hanging out with Jules and Lexi, but when Lexi says Jules coming into Rue's life gave her a spark, Rue's mood shifts, and she gets quiet. Still, after their fun night, Rue goes home with Jules. A trans woman shows up at Cal's motel room, but he wants to talk first. He says he's tried to keep his private life separate from his public and family life, but it's messing with his sons, making them angry, and he doesn't know how to fix it. The woman just wants to hook up, saying it might make him feel better. Nate, after ghosting Maddie's texts, talks to McKay, who tells Cassie to tell Maddie to use a different app. Maddie and Nate start texting and set up a meeting that night at the same hotel where Cal's at. Maddie pulls up as Cal's driving out, and when she and Nate see each other, they hug. McKay had a tough childhood, raised by a dad who pushed him hard because he saw superstar football potential in him. The intense drills, strict routines, and extra hours paid off when McKay got a shot to play for a club outside the school team. But when he messed up, letting people's words get under his skin, his dad told him to bottle it up and only let it out on the field. He said the world would always throw crap at him, but how he reacted would show what kind of man he was. McKay got a bigger opportunity, but after spending a whole season on the bench, he realized he wasn't as special as he thought. He met players way better than him, which made him think his chances of going pro were slim, so he pretty much gave up. Now he pours all his time and energy into Cassie, the love of his life. He's crazy about everything about her, even the way guys turn their heads when she walks by. But he can't figure out why she acts like her sex tape doesn't exist. Rue picks Jules up for a Halloween party and tries to kiss her, but Jules dodges it, and they head out. Cassie wants to wear something super sexy, but McKay makes her put on a jersey instead, not wanting any drama. Kat, who's now got 3 new pay on her roster and is making bank giving them sessions while turning down others, shows up dressed as a nun. They pick up Lexi, who's dressed like a 50-year-old man, even though her mom said Halloween costumes are supposed to be hot. As they head to the party, Jules gets drunk almost right away, and Rue notices something's off with her but doesn't ask. Cal takes the family out to eat, but the restaurant owner politely asks them to leave because Nate's presence might stir things up. Nate's been keeping to himself, sometimes driving around town aimlessly, watching Maddie from a distance. He's also keeping tabs on Jules, day and night. He and Maddie meet up every Friday night, and while she keeps hyping him up, they always end the night with great sex. Back at his place, he pins up bare pictures of a woman, adding them to his collection. At the Halloween party, Rue and Lexi notice Jules acting weird, dancing and drinking way too much, but they just keep an eye on her. They spot Gia in a corner with one of the twins, so they march over, pull the kid into a room, and lay into him for getting Gia high. Rue says she knows some bad dudes who will mess him up if he tries it again, so they make him promise to treat Gia better.
I said, have you ever been to rehab?
No.
We're talking people who are on the hook for armed robbery. As go past first base with my little sister and try to get her high again.
The second he's out, though, he goes right back to it. Ethan tries to talk to Kat about the other day, but she shuts him down cold. Rue runs into Fezco and apologizes for the harsh stuff she said before. He says he's not holding it against her. She thanks him for cutting her off from meds, and they're back on good terms. Cassie's having a rough night alone. The night before, while she and McKay were starting to hook up, a bunch of masked guys in just underwear busted in, dragged him out, and dropped him, calling him McGay. He tried to play it off and keep going with Cassie, but he took her from behind with no affection. Cassie ended up crying in the bathroom. Now at the party, Cassie's going wild without McKay, but she starts dancing with Daniel, who leads her into a room, and she follows willingly. Ethan's fed up with Kat's games, so he walks up, calmly pulls her into a closet, and locks it. Kat's kind of into it, and he starts kissing her. She asks about his body count, and when he hints it might be 0, she says she won't sleep with him. She prefers non-virgins to avoid attachment, plus they know what they're doing. That lights a fire under Ethan. Jules dives into a pool and Rue begs her to get out, but Jules just spouts Shakespearean lines. She pushes Rue into the water and kisses her underwater, but Rue storms off, pissed. McKay's at the party looking for Cassie while she's kissing Daniel, though she keeps saying she won't sleep with him. Daniel tries to push, but she's firm, which pisses him off. He snaps at her, saying she let him on and left him hanging, making her tear up. Meanwhile, McKay's checking every room for her and almost walks into hers when Lexi smoothly steps in, saying Cassie went home. Jules is freaking out because Nate showed up the night before with bare pictures of her, blackmailing her into doing something for him, or he'll get her thrown in jail or put on a offender list. Lexi finds Rue and gives her a hug to cheer her up. When Jules shows up drunk, they ask her to leave with them, but she says no, so Rue stays back to keep an eye on her. Nate corners Tyler, who's still in a neck brace. He wants Tyler to confess that he was hitting on Maddie, and when she rejected him, he choked and assaulted her at the carnival. Nate says if Tyler doesn't, Maddie will report him, claiming he assaulted her in the pool while she was drunk, and again at the carnival. Tyler says Nate can't prove he was at the carnival, but Nate's already got that covered. The next morning, Tyler walks into the police station and confesses, with Maddie there backing up his story. The detective thinks it's fishy, and when Jules shows up saying she saw Tyler choke Maddie at the carnival, she doubles down but isn't convincing enough, so the detective's not buying it. Back at the party, Nate rolls in with Maddie to a big welcome from everyone, but Jules's mood tanks when she sees him. She freezes, and there's an awkward moment between her and Nate. Rue clocks it and takes note. Cassie grew up in a solid family with a dad everyone loved, his charm pulling in women left and right, which sparked fights with her mom now and then. Cassie was crazy about her dad, and he was just as crazy about her. She grew into an amazing figure, so much so that at a family party, some creepy relatives kept hugging her too tight and making comments about her body. That same night, her mom got sloppy drunk, making a scene on the dance floor until her dad dragged her off, and they fought the whole drive home. One night, their fighting got so bad there was no fixing it, and they split up. Cassie's mom said her dad couldn't take responsibility, which had some truth since he could never hold a job for long. But at school, Cassie heard rumors that her mom cheated, and that's what caused the breakup. After her dad got into an accident, they stayed close, but then he started messing with some bad stuff. Cassie noticed needle marks on his arm. He spiraled, stopped being a dad, and eventually vanished from their lives completely. After that, Cassie threw herself into every guy she dated, loving them hard whether they were worth it or not, smart or dumb. She gave in to whatever they wanted. When the first video leaked, she was furious, but life moved on. Now she's with McKay, the love of her life. Cassie's at home, takes a pregnancy test, and the result makes her cry. Rue's in a dark place, nothing making sense, so she binges TV shows day and night just to kill time. Jules is struggling too, ditching school for a whole week and ignoring Rue's texts. Rue knows something's up with her, and it's got to do with Nate, so she starts digging, pulling Lexi into it. Rue feels like Morgan Freeman, laying out her theory to Lexi. Jules has been talking to some guy online who never shows his face, just his wiener. Jules said he's from a conservative family which matches Nate's vibe. After that night at the lake when Jules came back acting weird, Rue was sure it was Nate who showed up, using the name Tyler, the same Tyler who took the fall for assaulting Maddie. Rue thinks Tyler only confessed because the pool incident with Maddie could be spun as a sexual offense, worse than admitting to choking her. Rue's smoking here and there, and at night she calls Lexi to say she thinks Nate targeted Jules because he's into her. Jules, being soft, fell for his charm, maybe because of Nate's hidden gay tendencies, and that's why she agreed to testify for him. Rue calls herself a genius, but Lexi's not sure what to make of it. Cassie calls her friends for a round table and asks for advice on telling McKay about her moment with Daniel. At the mention of Daniel, Kat remembers hooking up with him at his party. The friends immediately tell her not to confess. Then Maddie and Kat get into it, with Maddie saying she's not feeling this new version of Kat. Cal's waiting for Nate and tells him he's impressed by how he got out of the Maddie mess, but hopes he didn't pick up any bad habits that could screw up his life. Nate doesn't say a word, just brushes past him, giving him a little shove. Rue gets a text from Jules apologizing for ghosting and saying she's heading to a friend's place for a bit. Rue's depression gets so bad she won't even pee. She snaps at her mom's new boyfriend, then heads to Fezco's to beg him to use his gun to scare Nate into talking. Fezco calls her crazy. Mouse shows up, and Fezco tells her to stay inside, but the stash of pills starts calling her name. Back home, Rue's alone, thinking about the good stuff that used to make her happy, especially Jules. But her depression twists it, erasing the good and focusing on the bad. She wonders what Jules is up to and how she's doing. Jules meets up with her friend, all happy, and gets introduced to Anna, who's curious about her transition and growth as a trans woman. Jules says she wants to outdo femininity itself. Cassie finally tells McKay she's pregnant. When she hints she might keep the baby, he freaks out, saying it'll ruin his life, his relationship with his parents, and his coach. She was only testing the waters, so he calms down, and they hug, with him encouraging her. Kat's on a call with a client who won't show his face on video. He pushes her to reveal her full body, something she's never done. Minutes later, she cuts the session short. Nate swings by Fezco's store to buy something, and Fezco warns him to stay away from Rue and her friends, calling them family. Nate tries to act tough, but Fezco makes it clear he'll wipe him out if he messes with them. Jules is having a blast with Anna at a club, kissing and getting intimate while thinking about what she could do to Nate. Meanwhile, Rue's punishing refusing to pee for days. Nate calls the cops to report a crime, and they roll up to Fezco's place, banging on the door while Fezco and his crew flush their pills down the toilet. Cassie opens up to her mom about everything. Meanwhile, Rue's mom steps in, cleaning her room, bathing her, and cuddling her as she sleeps. She tells Rue she's been doing better, and decided not to mess up her sobriety just because she's depressed. Jules' high doesn't last past that night. She texts Rue, teary-eyed, saying she misses her a lot. Rue lands in the hospital with a kidney infection after holding her pee for too long. She's kind of loving it there. No responsibilities, quick care, and she almost sweet-talked her way into getting the meds she wanted, but the doctor shut it down. She says the hospital bed feels like a poolside chair in the Caribbean. Her routine is simple: strut around the facility for fun during the day, then crash in her bed at night. One morning, she wakes up to Jules, who's worried she ended up like this because Jules wasn't around. Rue says, "Nah, it just happened." Jules apologizes for not being honest about what Nate forced her to do. They're back to being tight, and Jules starts dressing Rue up, putting makeup on her while gushing about how awesome Anna is. They hug, missing each other, and Rue talks about what she'd do to Nate if she ever got her hands on him. Rue's mom has a lot to say about her kid, how she was as a baby, her personality growing up, and what she hoped for her. She's been hanging out with Jules' dad, and during one of their hangouts, everyone, including Jules and Kat, gets ready for a party. Nate's going too, but with a new girl his parents approve of. Cassie and her friends head to the venue, and Cassie admits she's not in love right now, which is new for her. Fezco's getting ready, but not for fun like the others. He grabs a gun, kisses his grandma goodbye, and heads out. At the party, the girls chat about high school and how they're holding up. Jules gets a text, smiles, and slips off to take a selfie in the bathroom. Nate shows up with his new girl, and Maddie's pissed. She remembers the last time she tried hooking up with him, and he couldn't get it up. She confronts him, but it turns ugly with her getting again, saying she's cool if he's gay. She steps outside and runs into Cal, who tells her to leave Nate alone, warning that their thing will ruin them both. Meanwhile, Nate's off in the bathroom. Nate's been off his game in football because of all the drama in his life. At the party, Nate dances dirty with his new girl, staring right at Maddie. After a bit, Maddie says screw it, grabs a guy who's down to dance and hits the floor. Rue finds Jules in the bathroom, and Jules asks why Rue doesn't kiss her like she really wants it. Rue's stunned and just stares, so Jules pulls her back to the dance floor. The girls talk about how love can be messed up, and right then Kat spots Ethan. She goes over, apologizes for flipping out after seeing him with that girl at the carnival, and admits she was wrong. Ethan says he still cares and promises to try not to hurt her. They kiss, make up, and ditch the party. Nate's fed up watching Maddie dance with some dude, so he storms out, and Rue follows him. Lexi, wanting to try something new, asks Cassie for advice on hooking up. Cassie tells her to either wait for a guy to make a move or pick one herself. Outside, Rue confronts Nate, asking if he's the one who snitched on Fezco. He doesn't admit it, but Rue's got one goal: tell him to leave Fezco and Jules alone, or she'll ruin his life and his actual dad's, who she calls a pedophile. Nate's not fazed. He smoothly says she's fighting for someone who'll forget her soon, and it hits Rue hard.
It's probably why you're spending all your time with someone who's gonna leave you and won't even remember.
Nate walks off, leaving her standing there. After a heated football game where Nate's team almost loses but he pulls through and wins it, Cal critiques his mistakes at home. Nate's had enough and squares up to his dad, who tells him to back off. Nate doesn't, so Cal takes him down, pinning him to the floor. Nate fights back but can't overpower him. After Cal walks away, Nate screams, letting out all his rage, banging his head and hands on the floor. Fezco, masked and armed, sneaks into a compound and watches Mouse talking to two guys from a distance. Jules meets up with Rue, who asks how she feels about Anna and her. Jules says she loves Anna and loves Rue too, but when Rue asks if she'd want her to change, Jules says no. Rue had mentioned wanting to leave their messed up town, so she brings it up again, but Jules just laughs. They share a passionate kiss. Cassie's time comes for her procedure, while Fezco gets into the house he's targeting, pulls a gun on the guy inside, and demands money. The guy tries to play smart, grabbing for a gun while pulling cash from a safe, which pisses Fezco off. Fezco beats him up and leaves. Back home, Mouse and his guy are waiting, and Fezco knows why. He tosses them the cash, but Mouse's buddy notices blood on it. Back at the party, Nate walks up to Maddie for a dance. She hesitates but gives in. As they dance, she calls him abusive and psychopathic, saying they'll never work out. It pisses him off, but he stays quiet. Jules and Rue decide to run away, grabbing a few things and heading to the train. But as they get close, Rue gets cold feet, thinking about her mom and Gia. Jules pushes her to stick to the plan, reminding her it was her idea, but Rue can't do it. Jules hops on the train, and it takes off. As Rue walks home, emotions hit her hard. Flashes of someone being rushed off on a stretcher, rough times with her mom, and when she left home. She feels like she's in a dark place and ends up taking the powder she'd sworn off, staggering through the house. Whether it's real or a hallucination, she starts singing in her high, surrounded by a crowd of people.